Hi, this is Dr. Eddie Morgan over at Clovis East High School. I'm going to help you with your homework today. Homework help for Math 1. This is worksheet 4.4b. Remember, this problem is mirrored. Actually, this homework assignment is exactly your homework assignment. So you should get it perfect if you watch this video. The first problem asks us to solve a single equation in one variable. So this should be very simple. Let's get all the x's on one side. So if I want to be positive, I'm going to put a plus 3x here and a plus 3x here. That gets me minus 10 equals 5x plus 10. And now we'll get all the numbers on the left side, so subtract 10 here. And we get minus 20 equals 5x. Undo the multiplication by 5 by dividing by 5. And we find out that x equals minus 4. Now this is how you would solve the equation to find its x. What this problem is showing you, what this worksheet is showing you, is we could set up these two things. Like in B, it says set f of x equal to that. In other words, it's going to take this side here of the equation and make that f of x. It's going to take this side of the equation and make that g of x. And then it's going to have you graph it. So notice when you do this, for f of x, the slope is minus 3, and the y-intercept is minus 10. For g of x, the slope is 2, and the y-intercept is 10. Again, remember this is y equals mx plus b, so the coefficient of x is your slope, and the other number is your y-intercept. And then it wants us to graph it. Well, for f of x, if it's minus 10, so I come down here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's my y-intercept. It has a slope of down 3 and over 1, or I can go back up here, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. I'm going backwards. Okay. And so my line is going to look like this. Okay. All right, so let's do the other one. Now the other one I'm going to do in blue. Here the y-intercept is 10, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 up here. And its slope is 2. So I'm going to come down 2, go backwards. Oh, there's my intercept there. So having trouble getting the pen to write tonight. All right. And here's the point where it intersects. This is the point 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4, 2. Okay. So my answer here is negative 4, 2. All right, so there's our answer, negative 4, 2. Now notice what you're going to see here is that when I solved it in 1a, I got an answer that x equals negative 4. When I made each side an equation and saw where they intersected where x was negative 4. And that's the point they're trying to make in this particular problem. Part C says to substitute our answer back in and see if it worked. Our answer was x equals minus 4. So if we put it in here, minus 3 times minus 4 minus 10, and we're seeing, does that equal 2 times minus 4 plus 10? So here we have minus 3 times minus 4 is positive 12. 12 minus 10, so that equals 2. Does that equal? And here we have negative 8 plus 10. Put it up there. And sure enough, that equals 2 as well, so it works out. And then the last question, what did you notice about the coordinates of the intersection of f of x and the solution? Well, we noticed that in the coordinates we had minus 4, 2, and our solution was x equals minus 4. So notice this was x and y, so the two were the same. Just an additional way that maybe to solve that problem if you're only looking for one variable. So problem 2 is similar. We're going to end up solving the equation first and then graphing it and finding our x equation that way as well. So first of all, let's get the x's on one side. So let's subtract 1/3 x from each side. 1x minus 1/3 x is going to give me 2/3 x minus 5 equals minus 1. Undo the minus 5 by adding 5. And we have 2/3 x equals 4. And then the way to undo multiply by 2/3 is either to divide by 2/3 or what I like to do, multiply by the reciprocal. So multiply by 3 over 2. Notice that's going to give me 6 over 6 or 1. So 3 over 2. And then when you multiply fractions, remember that what you have here is this is actually a fraction 4 over 1. Multiply the top, you have 12. Multiply the bottoms 2 or 6. So our answer here is x equals 6. Now if we come in here and graph these two, notice for my first equation, y equals x, the slope is 1. There's no number there, so it's assumed to be 1. And the intercept is negative 5. So if I graph that 1, I'm going to come down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my slope's going to be 1. So I'm just going to be going up like this. Up 1 over 1. And I can go backwards as well. Kind of looks like that. My second one, the slope is 1/3 x, so 1/3 is the slope, and minus 1. So I have a minus 1. And now the slope 1/3 means up 1 and over 3. Okay? So here I go up 1 and over 3, 1, 2, 3, there. Up 1, 1, 2, 3. There's my point of connection, 1, 1, 2, 3. And if I go backwards, and so our solution here is the point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So 6 and 1. Once again, notice here is x, here's y, so I get the x value of 6 for both of them. So once again, they want us to check the answer by putting our answer in here. Remember, the answer was x equals 6, so we put it in here for 6. 6 minus 5 on one side, and we're seeing, is that equal to 1/3 times 6 minus 1? This side is going to be 6 minus 5 is 1. This side, 1/3 is going to be, remember that could be written as 6 over 1, is 6 over 3 minus 1, which is 2 minus 1, which equals 1. So notice they are equal, and so we know that is the correct solution. Again, what do we notice here? We have a solution x equals 6, and we have the graph intercepts at 6, 1, and so this is xy, and so these are the same. So it's just a way that graphing could help us solve this problem. By splitting the problem, we're actually splitting the problem into two graphs and seeing where they intersect. The next set of problems has us look at the graph at the right and answer some questions. First, it says name all the labeled points that are solutions of f of x. Well, that's all the points on the line, so the ones that are labeled. So here's f of x right here. I'm drawing this in red. So all the points that are labeled points is going to be, if I start on this side, it's going to be H, E, D, and C. Now, what are all the labeled points for g of x? I'm going to label g of x with the blue. And notice those points are going to be J, starting at the bottom, J, D, B, and A. Then C says, for f of x, name the point of the y-intercept where x equals 0. Well, here's the y-intercept. So remember, the y-intercept is there here. This is y-intercept. So where does y equals 0 all on that point? Where does f of x, the red and the purple, intercept? Right here. So that's going to be the point E. D, name the point of the solution of the equation f of x equals 0. Well, when f of x equals 0, f of x equals 0 all along the x-axis, which is here. So f of x equals 0 is going to be this point here, C. So that's our solution there. On a new slide, let me remind you the red here is the f of x, and I use blue here to mark the g of x, okay? So for g of x, name the point where the y-intercepts, where x is 0. So again, here is my y-intercept here. I have it kind of in a purple. This is y. And that's also where, this is the y-intercept. It's also where x equals 0. And notice that intercepts the g of x down here at point J. F, name the point that the solution is g of x equals 0. Again, we're looking, g of x equals 0 is all along the x-axis here. So where does g of x equals 0? Well, here's g of x. That's going to intersect here at point B. All right. Now, the next part's interesting because it asks us, where is f of x greater than g of x? So just notice here, if I draw two lines, all along this part of the line, that's the bigger line. But on this part, this is the bigger line, okay? Because they're higher up in the graph. They have a greater value. So where I'm looking for, where is f of x here? Where is the red line above the blue line? And you'll notice it's all along here. All of these points here are bigger than the blue line. So what are the points that are bigger? On this case, H and E. If you're at point H, you're bigger than the g of x, which is down off the graph here, and E is greater than J. How about when J of x, when they turn around, when G of x is bigger, now what we have is we're on the other side. Here, G is bigger, so notice we have all these points along here. G is bigger than f of x, and there's 2 points involved there, and that's A and B. And then lastly, where do they equal each other? Right here in the middle. D is where they intercept. That's the point, your solution. All right? Now this one, part 4, is just like part 3. I'm going to find all the f of x. So my f of x, I'm going to mark this again for you. F of x is all the red points. Okay? So here's my red point. This is f of x. And all my g of x is all the blue points. Okay? So, first it says all the f of x points. All right? So we have W, S, P, T, and V and U. All of those, any points on that line are going to be points that are solutions of f of x. Similarly, for g of x, all the points in the line, notice I start at the left here. I have Z, I have T, I have N, R, and Q. Okay? C, find for f of x where the y-intercept is 0. So I'm looking for where does it intersect the y-intercept. The y-intercept is green here. This is the y. So where does f of x, the red, intercept the green? It intercepts right there at point V. Now it's also asking on the same hand, name the x value where the solution is equal to f of x equals 0. This is actually asking kind of for the x-intercept. Along the x-intercept, y equals 0. So where does f of x intercept that one? Right here f of x intersects the x-axis at point P. Now we're going to do the same thing for the g of x. Where does g of x, where x equals 0? So g of x crosses this line here, the y-intercept here at point N. And then where g equals 0, here's g of x coming along and it intersects it right here at point R. Now, where is g of x bigger? Well, notice here, g of x all along here is underneath, so it's less. But over here, g of x is bigger. So notice all of these are bigger than the red. So it's going to be R and Q. Those are points where it's bigger. And where F is bigger than, on this side, the F is the bigger side. So we have the points W, S, and P. And then finally, where do they equal? They cross right here at point T. That's the point they have in common. That would be the solution of those two systems. Last problem is kind of a review problem. It asks, can you graph y equals 4x minus 3? Well, you remember that the slope-intercept form looks like this, mx plus b. And so if I have 4x minus 3, then my slope is 4, and my y-intercept is minus 3. So we start with the y-intercept. We start at origin and go down 3. That's my y-intercept. Then my slope's going to be 4. Okay? And so I'm going to, by the way, this is one point. We're going to have to label points. So one point that's easy is 0 minus 3. And now we're going to go up 4 and over 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and over 1. That's another point. I'll just label it again here. This is 1, 1. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. And there's another point, and that's going to be point 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the next one goes off the graph, and the next one does. So there's our 3 points we're looking for. 2, 5, 1, 1, and 0 minus 3. All right? So that's your homework for tonight. Have a good evening.